Good morning. My name is Milton Grimes, and I've been on this show for months now with Nathaniel Lee. Nate cannot be with us this morning, but we have planned to have a interesting, exciting show for you this morning. We have Vanita. Vanita, would you introduce yourself and tell the public who you really are?
Good morning, listening audience. I'm Vanita Banks. I'm an attorney. I'm past president of the National Bar Association, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to participate on this show with our host, Nathaniel Lee, who again is not with us this morning, but with John Sweeney and our host this morning, Milton Grimes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Vanita. And John Sweeney, an attorney here in Los Angeles that stays in the headlines, folks. One of the greatest lawyers in America. John, will you tell the people more about yourself?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm the second greatest lawyer in America, or in Los Angeles, next to Milton Grimes. But I've been practicing law for 4 decades. I was born in Washington, D.C. when my father was in law school at Howard University. I've been in Los Angeles since I was 2 years old, so I'm a native Angelino. I practice civil law and actually criminal law. I was a criminal lawyer for years. I gravitated more toward civil personal injury cases and particularly civil rights cases. I'm a philanthropist, a father, and a husband, and I'm happy to be here. We're going to carry the load for Nathaniel Lee on his great show.
Right. Well, here we are, post-election. We have a new president that we all, most of us, the majority of us wanted. So everything should be great from here on out. You agree?
Everything should be pleasant? Absolutely not.
Everything should be great from here on out. Would you agree,
Yeah,
Vanita? John?
I wish, Milton, that were the case. Unfortunately, the 70 million plus who voted for Donald Trump and Donald Trump are going to fan the flames for the next 4 years. And I think we can get some things done if we win those 2 Senate seats in Georgia. So I know that the radio audience is nationwide, and particularly in Indianapolis and the Indiana area. You say, what can you do? I can't vote in Georgia. What you can do is you can contribute money to the cause. Just go online and you can contribute whatever amount is comfortable for you. You can call friends to contribute money. You can talk to any relatives or friends that you know in Georgia, and you can encourage them to vote. Just remember the parable of the widower in the Bible, that the widower was looked upon with more favor by the Lord because she gave a penny, and all she had was a penny. She was looked upon with more favor than the multimillionaire who gave $1,000 because she sacrificed of herself in a greater degree. So I bring that up because no amount of money is too small to send down there to Georgia. And I think, circling back to your question, Milton, is not going to be smooth sailing for the next 4 years unless we get those Senate seats, and it still won't be smooth sailing.
Well, we saw Obama without the Senate, and we saw how it limited, I won't say ineffective, we saw how it limited his effectivity. Vanita, do we see the same possibility coming up with Biden and Harris?
I do see that same potentiality, and this upcoming election in Georgia is one of the most important examples of why it is important to vote in every election. No Senate candidate received 50% of the vote in Georgia, and therefore a runoff is scheduled for January 5th. And there are several important dates to keep in mind. 2 days ago, this date has passed, which was the date to request a mail-in ballot. However, early voting begins on December 14th, and the last day to register, very important date, is December 7th. And the actual runoff, again, is January 5th, 2021. And that's a critical election because those 2 Senate seats will determine who has the power in the Senate. And it's important because senators, they represent on a national basis their state's interests in healthcare, climate change, COVID-19, the economy, cabinet and judicial appointments. And so these 2 races are very, very important. And I've stated on past shows that this November 3rd election was really the end of the beginning of citizen engagement. Voting is the first step, and we need to continue to that engagement and momentum with this election in a number of ways, including mobilizing citizens in Georgia to vote, to support the campaigns financially if you're able. There are many opportunities to participate remotely by volunteering to participate in phone banking. And if you're interested in the opportunity of helping remotely from your own home, you don't have to leave your home to be engaged. You can contact www.National Bar Association Election Protection to find out the myriad of ways that you can get involved in the Georgia Senate race. But it is truly a pivotal race.
Oh my God, Benita, we worked and we got Biden and Harris elected. I mean, Thanksgiving is right around the corner. It's next week. Christmas is right after that. This is the time for celebration and happiness. Trump is cooperating fully by handing over the power to the new regime, and people are welcoming Harris and Biden with open arms. But you don't talk like it's a happy day in front of us.
Hey, let me tell you, Milton, if anybody believes that I have a bridge in Brooklyn that I own, fee simple absolute, that I want to sell to you. Yeah, I know you speak tongue in cheek. It's not going to be like that. But let me, if I can, Milton, I want to shift the discussion. It dovetails into the importance of that Senate race because we're going to need those 2 seats if we're going to get anything done in the next 4 years. And let me introduce to the public, if you haven't already heard this name, this person is going to be on in Joe Biden's cabinet. His name is Mirza Baradarian. Have you heard that name, Vanita?
I have not yet.
Okay, anyway.
You may refresh my recollection, John.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing that correctly is Mirza, M-E-H-R-S-A, Baradaran, B-A-R-A-D-A-R-N. Now, this person is an attorney. He's going to be on the cabinet, and he is a tremendous voice for, guess what, folks? For reparations for African Americans. This is extremely important, and this signals to me that Biden is about to do something about this reparations issue that has been smoldering in the background, has really never gained traction. It would change the course of African American history. It would give us economic power and give us money to pass on to generations and generations, and would make us less dependent on the majority. So Biden, in a speech recently, said that African Americans had my back in this election. I have your back. And with this guy's appointment to the cabinet, I am very, very hopeful and excited about the issues of reparations. But obviously, we can't get anything done if we don't win those 2 Senate seats.
Absolutely. And with respect to reparations, we know that the late, great Michigan Representative John Conyers introduced a reparations bill in Congress every year since at least the 80s. And I think that the time has come to, well, it's long past the time to consider reparations for African Americans who built this nation with their own blood, sweat, and tears. And there's been, of course, a great debate about reparations over the years. And I think that what reparations mean today, and you stated it so greatly, John, is to address those, of course, systemically racist institutions that have precluded African Americans from equal access, and to grant equal access. What does it mean? It means equal access to education opportunities. There's no reason in the world why the United States can't commit to ensuring that every child in this country have access to a quality education. So that's a form in which reparations should take. Equal access to health care. We've heard lots of criticism about the Obama administration. And from my perspective, we as Americans have very short memories. If we recall when President Obama took office, we were experiencing a great, had we fallen into depression? And if he had not bailed out, one of his first moves was to bail out the auto industry. And you can believe if he had not done that, he would have been a one-term president, because the auto industry in the Midwest is just absolutely critical. And with respect to healthcare, what did he do? The Affordable Care Act extends health care coverage to millions of Americans, which right now and every day has been and is being threatened by this administration. And so equal access and continued access to health care is one form of reparation. Of course, affordable housing, and as we've seen played out all over this nation, most recently demonstrated through the 8 minutes, 43 seconds. So we were horrified as we all witnessed the death of George Floyd. Criminal and social justice is another form in which reparations should take as well. So I'm very happy to hear the commitment demonstrated, John, through the appointment of this cabinet member.
Well, my reaction, John, thanks for sharing that. I would love to see it happen. But my second thought when you said that, John, was if some of those people down in Georgia thought for a minute that Biden was going to make steps towards reparation. I think they would raise out of the grave some of the Confederate soldiers that are that are buried down there to get votes. I mean, we've seen what people will do, like here in our own area, LA County, to win an election.
Yeah.
Registering the dead, registering the unborn, everybody. But I can foresee that Trump would have another platform to stand upon to show why this particular administration is illegal and didn't win and shouldn't be in power, etc. How do you feel about that?
Well, Trump will be out of there in a month or so. I couldn't care less what he thinks. When he's out. If we get this done within 4 years, it's probably will be irreversible. I think that the tide has turned. The people have spoken. I think that there's no turning back from moving away from Trump. Even though he claims that he'll mount a comeback in 4 years, I don't think he has a chance. I don't even think the Republican Party thinks that they want to go back to the days of chaos we've gone through the last 4 years. So I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about getting this thing pushed through if we can in this next 4 years, which will change the course of history. We have the leverage now because African Americans in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and Georgia, and all across the country, particularly those 4 states, put Joe Biden in the White House. We have a lot of leverage, and don't forget, we saved his failing campaign in South Carolina, in the primary, when Representative Clyburn endorsed him and really gave him a pep talk and lit a fire under him, which propelled him onward and to his successful campaign. But there are going to be always people who don't want to see reparations, and it's not going to be a huge. It's not. I don't believe it's going to be an issue in Georgia, a huge issue. Like you said, you don't want to make a controversial subject like that an issue when you have a razor thin chance of winning. So I don't think that's going to be an issue in Georgia, but it's an issue that I brought up. And I thought it was very, very important. By the way, I just got a notice from the mothership that there was a caller. Whenever you want to take them, named Larry. Anytime you want to take them,
I don't see that on mine.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You see a caller? Larry is calling.
It's Larry. Larry.
Well, why don't we put him through? Hello, Ms. Producer.
Producer, is Larry still on the line?
Do we have a caller?
He must be gone. You can keep
Okay,
on.
let's continue. Vanita.
I'll let
Yeah,
you know about another notice from producer that a caller is on the
Okay.
line.
Well, maybe she will give us contact us when he called back. Vanita, could I ask you, how do you feel about Trump and his team continuing to claim they won? And do you think we're getting anywhere in showing the public that they did not win and this man has to cooperate and give up the power that he has?
Panel, we have Larry back.
Okay, we have Larry back. Yes, Larry.
Hey, now, we have learned attorneys on this program today. And you know that I've been reading some information on the Model State Emergency Health Cards Act, where it allows a person to be quarantined if a contract tracer has determined that he's been in the presence of someone who has actual COVID, right? So they can quarantine or isolate that person without notice it also provides for quarantine camps. So what's your legal standpoint on that? And I think it's a more serious issue that should be discussed by Black lawyers as to whether these measures that are being rolled out by the health departments of various states and cities are even constitutional, even in an unconventional situation where we have a health pandemic that is either here or there. But what do you think about the actual quarantine camps that they're about ready to set up, and the increase in testing and tracing that can have you quarantined without notice for 14 days?
John, Benita?
Well, that's news to me. I think Larry asked the question, what do we think about quarantine camps? Is that your understanding of the question, Milton?
Right, I haven't.
Yeah.
Can I cite my source?
What's that?
Can I cite my source in this matter? The
Larry, you can cite
quarantine
your
provisions, the Model State Emergency Health Powers Act law of a common for laws for the common good, and it's a Santa Clara High Technology Law Journal. So they critique this Model State Emergency Health Powers Act, and they came up with these deductions, and whether it would not be administered according to the racism that goes on in this country right now, as it had been and other pandemics that we had in this country, where the minority populations were preyed on. The sick and the infirm have now been classified as sick and infirm and more susceptible to COVID. And it does state in this not an article, but a critique, that they can be quarantined for their own good. So, like, if you're in a church or something like that,
Larry, if I may cut you off.
The church can be quarantined.
Yeah. I get the general drift of his question and his comments, and what he's basically saying, and what we have to be vigilant about, is that African Americans and minorities are always affected greater during emergencies, be it the economy, a recession. When the economy goes bad, has a cough in the country, the African American community catches pneumonia. You know, it's always more greatly affected, and so it is with COVID. African Americans and minorities have less access to quality health care. And I understand Larry's concerns about quarantine camps. I haven't heard about them, but we have to be vigilant as African American leaders to make sure that African Americans are getting the vaccines, just like the majority communities. We have to make sure that we are taking care of health-wise during this these very trying times. So I understand, Larry, the caller's concerns about this issue, and we have to make sure that the African American community is taken care of. And by the way, Milton, another call from Frank just came through.
Wow, Frank.
Yes, hello. How y'all doing this morning?
Fine.
Fine, thank you.
Hello. Okay. Larry surprised me talking about racism when he was for the biggest in the country, in the nation. I say, and that's Donald Trump. Well, my comment is this: you got the Secretary of State counting these votes and stuff like that. They're certifying them, and then in Georgia right now, you got a Republican Secretary of State, and you had one in there before when he cheated and beat Stacey Abrams out of her governorship, and that same guy still up there now, is any kind of way, my question is this, is any kind of way by y'all lawmakers can come up with some kind of way, a law, no law, that these type of people cannot be in charge of certifying votes and asking for recounts and all that. Trump can go on forever, talking about recounting. I mean, it will never stop because we don't stop. I mean, it's going to take the law to stop him, and don't look like I don't see no law out there to stop this fool. Thank you.
Well, I think that what has happened is it is stopping. They've recounted, they've certified the votes, and that's the process. That's the democratic process. So that process, I disagree with you, is working to a great degree.
And we see yesterday, the Georgia governor certified the election results, and earlier the Secretary of State had certified those results, and Joe Biden is still leading by over 12,000, almost 13,000 votes. And we've seen lawsuits filed across the nation, and they've been dismissed by even Republican judicial appointees. And so these recounts, and we saw in Georgia after the first election, each vote was recounted by hand. And so these recounts are not changing the results, but we're not surprised. The president stated way in advance he attempted to sow seeds of distrust in this election by suggesting that anyone that did not appear at the polls on election day to vote in person was, and we've seen it last week in Detroit, this whole implication that Detroit residents are somehow engaged in fraud or criminal activity because they voted by mail. And if you look at the statistics and you compare from 2016 to this year, in Detroit, the number of votes for Joe Biden was only 858 more votes for him than, or the Democrat was Hillary Clinton in 2016. So where did the election turn? It was the suburban voters, college-educated voters in Detroit, outside of the cities, that voted against or in favor of Joe Biden this election. And so we're still seeing these challenges, but the bottom line is that Joe Biden won this election by more than 5 million popular votes. Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. This vote will be certified through the electors coming together and electing Joe Biden, and he will be sworn in on January 20th, 2021. There's been no evidence of fraud in this election, but we can anticipate that the president will continue to hold rallies, he'll continue to claim fraud, and continue to perpetuate chaos in our nation.
That's his nature, and that's what his reputation is, and that's what he has been doing for 4 years, telling falsehoods and giving out fake news and making false claims. He's not going to stop now, but that does not mean we have to give him any win.
I agree. And if he wants to discount mail-in ballots, he should start with his own, because he mailed in a ballot. And
has been for years.
Yeah, I think that Trump really doesn't believe what he's saying. He's a two-bit hustler who just happened to tie in the base of disenfranchised white people, mostly blue-collar white people, and he gave them what they wanted, some hope, and some hope of stemming the tide of immigrants and colored people from around the world coming into this country and taking over a country that they perceive is theirs, that their forefathers founded. And he is playing to those people. And this whole election fraud nonsense that he's proffering, he doesn't believe it. What he's doing is he's trying to raise money. He's trying to keep his base together so that he can make money off of them. He is soliciting money, stop the fraud campaign to raise money, and 60% of those, 60 cents on every dollar is going in Trump's pocket from that campaign. So it's the same thing this guy has been doing for years. He has a history of being a failed businessman, from all the bankruptcies to all the people he stiffed in real estate in New York, to the Trump University fraud, to his father going back and being sued by the Justice Department in the city of New York for discrimination in housing, not allowing black. This guy has a horrible record. But you know what? The reason why he is so popular is because white America wants to hear this. What that 70 million votes prove to me is that white America wants to hear this. They don't want to see America become a majority-minority country, which it is scheduled to become, on pace to become in 25 years or 20 years. So that's what's going on. I wouldn't be, Frank the caller, I wouldn't be at all concerned about him going on and on with this voter nonsense, voter fraud nonsense. It will all end in a month or so.
John, but you got to be honest and face the fact that he has been somewhat successful with this 4-year big lie theory and plan of his, more so than anyone else, to my recollection, in history. And he's gained some power. He's gained some influence. He has leaders, world leaders, refusing to acknowledge our new president and our democracy. So he's not just a Jim Jones with a little ragtag band of people over there. He's got 70-some million people as his base. And I think we got to seriously approach this man.
I think that, and this goes back to the end of the Civil War. I think the country back then, the government did a poor job in bringing the country back together and not punishing the South more strictly. And I think it just has built over the years. And, apartheid was set up, through Plessy versus Ferguson after, Reconstruction was dismantled. And one thing led to another. And all of a sudden you get a guy like Trump, and he's the messiah to those people that never really acknowledged the loss of the Civil War and the abolition of slavery. And so we're fighting this fight 160 years later. So I think that's what's going on, and it's a serious issue, and hopefully there should be some type of cabinet post that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris form to deal with reconciliation. It should be a full-time cabinet post, just like Nelson Mandela did when he appointed Desmond Tutu. Bishop Desmond Tutu is the head of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission down there in South Africa when Mandela won as president. There has to be something done. There has to be some kind of reconciliation between the races. Like Biden said, there are no blue or red states. This is the United States of America, and we have to do something to that end.
We have 2 callers waiting.
Okay.
Producer?
Yeah.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Caller?
What is your name?
How are you?
I can't hear him, John. Can you hear him?
I cannot hear him.
Okay. Hello, sir. Would you speak up?
Yeah, I got a question. About this acceptance of the percentage of the black man that is infected with all of the disease.
William, we can't hear you. Could you please move closer to the microphone?
Maybe I could get back in contact with you next week.
You said you had a question about the black man. I heard that part. Can you just get closer to the microphone like she suggested?
Yeah, I was just saying that we are accepting the narrative that the black man is always worse off when any disease or anything that comes out negative. Why are we accepting this? But why are we using this probability?
I can't hear.
We got 13,000 people in the city, and 1,300 of them are black, and 130 of them contract a disease that is ravaging the city. The negative number that comes out will be that the black man is more likely to have the disease than the white man. I would just wonder, why are we accepting that probability?
I think the caller has raised this concept on prior occasions. And with respect to healthcare and specifically COVID-19, we know that African Americans make up 14% of the population. And when you look at the numbers of African Americans and Latinos that are contracting COVID-19, the statistics show that it's at a disproportionate rate of the greater population. So it's not that there's an attempt to couch these things with negativity. It's just based on our proportionate representation in the general population. There's a disproportionate number of African Americans contracting the disease and dying from the disease. We know that 1 in 1,000 African Americans have contracted COVID-19, and that we're likely to die at 3 times a greater rate than white Americans. We also know that the majority of children that have died from COVID-19 are African Americans. So it's important that we focus on those health disparities and ensure that our communities receive appropriate treatment. And then we talked earlier about the contact tracing and have access to a vaccine once we are, and I can tell you there's been a lot of great news about the vaccine manufactured by several companies over the last couple of weeks. There's like 100 million doses that are already manufactured for distribution once they've been approved. There's been an application for emergency approval, and that independent group is going to be getting together on December 10th, I believe, to consider that application. But I keep saying that I want to see the data. And I think that is where it's important that our healthcare professionals, that our lawyers, that our doctors and others ensure that the African American community and all communities are informed and have access to all the critical information regarding the vaccine before it's disseminated to our communities. And we have to just ensure that we stay laser focused on that.
Right. Keep
We
your
have one
eye
more.
on the ball. As this gentleman has brought out, you know, you look back at the syphilis experiment they had and not letting the people know they had this disease. I learned a couple of years ago that during World War II, they wanted to experiment with mustard gas that was being used by the Germans. And they selected randomly 60,000 soldiers around the country here in the US. They just happened to be African American soldiers that they would put into a room, 15 or 20 at a time, and throw in a grenade of mustard gas and see how you come out of there after some time of being exposed to it. They used African American soldiers in World War II to see how that gas would affect the white soldiers who were in combat. So I don't trust the government, as this gentleman here has indicated, with their truth that they tell us. I'm not sure what they do with our community with testing. I had a neighbor tell me yesterday that he was taking the vaccine. They were experimenting. He doesn't know if he's getting a placebo or the real vaccine, but he's had a second shot. And he was boasting of, yeah, I'm in the experiment, but to come to think of it, I don't know what they're giving me. So there is a tendency, Vanita Banks and John Sweeney, throughout history, for the government, including the Medical Association, to experiment with minority people, African American people. I recently read in the paper yesterday that they were deporting the women who were complaining about being locked up, who this gynecologist was giving hysterectomies to, and involuntarily. So they go about keeping that suppressed, that information suppressed, by deporting the women who have received some of these hysterectomies without their consent. So this gentleman is right in one respect about, as Vernita said, we got to see the data. We got to see what the heck's going on here with this COVID-19 situation too, because we're not always told the truth.
Analysts, we have one more caller, Joycelyn on line 1.
Yeah, good afternoon. How y'all doing?
Doing fine.
Hello? Okay, I just wanted to say one thing. I remember back in the 60s, the Democrats was hurting black people, sticking dogs on them, water hoses, wouldn't let them eat in the restaurants. It was a Republican Party that set us free from slavery. So I don't know how things got turned around, but I still don't trust that Democratic Party. Y'all have a big old fine blessed day.
Thank you, sir.
Next caller, producer Nikki on line 2.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hello. Go ahead, sir. Hello. We can hear you.
Hello. My name is Jocelyn. Hello?
Hello, we can hear you, sir.
Hello?
Thank you for doing it.
Am I on the air?
You're on the air.
Think that was the whole thing? Well,
Okay. I'm a Trump supporter, and I just sat here I'm president
that.
of
I knew.
Republicans of Marion County.
You probably didn't.
And I sit here and listen to the propaganda that you all are putting out in the black community. And I would just like to correct.
We got our plan, so come get these coins.
I didn't hear you.
There's distortion. I'm hearing someone else speaking in addition to the caller.
I've just been told by the producer it's time to wrap up. So if we could have closing comments.
Sure. John, you want to go first?
Yes. Let's just make it through these next 6 weeks and try to cancel out the noise that we're hearing from the vanquished, those who lost the election, who cannot let go. I think we have brighter days ahead. I can see the blue skies ahead over the dark clouds that have been hovering for the last 4 years. I think that this country is going to heal itself. I think that we have a leader now who is a compassionate person. I think that the frustrations and anxiety and the chaos that we have seen for the last 4 years eventually will disappear. And I think that 4 years from now, when the 2024 elections come up, I think that I'm hoping that, and I'm confident that the Republicans will run someone other than Donald Trump. And I can appreciate, and I think it's very good that we have two parties with two different views trying to, proffer their view, Democrats versus Republicans, because I think it pulls the country back to the center and is good for all people when we have good debate on both sides. So to the world, to listeners, just hang on. And I think that the next 4 years are going to heal the country, and I think we're going to be just fine.
Anita?
It is clear that we have a very divided nation right now, and that President-elect Biden will have a really strong challenge in order to bring America back together. But I do believe that it can be done, and I believe that he has the experience, and that I can't think of any other national leader that would have any better chance of bridging those gaps and bringing us together as a nation. He's been very methodical as he's moved forward. He's changed the tone. And so our children, can see, what civility looks like. Tone matters, from our executives. And so I think that as he continues to very professionally, and we talk about, what is and what is not presidential, but he's showing that leadership by moving forward with initially announcing the COVID-19 task force. He's he's appointed the teams that once the GSA approves the election results, we can begin to move forward with the transition activities that need to take place. And so over the next 6 weeks, as John said, between now and the end of the year, we just need to stay healthy and stay safe. There's been some dire numbers of how many Americans could die between now and March 21st. So we have to ensure that we wear our masks. That's just a small thing to do to, restrict our own freedom. We say, I have the freedom not to wear a mask. But it's a small request to ask to restrict your own freedom by helping to ensure the safety of somebody else. So please wear your mask, wash your hands, only gather with those that live in your home during the Thanksgiving holidays, and please stay safe.
Yeah, I just got a note, Milton, that the administration wants us to wrap up. So it's all yours, Milton.
Okay, no problem, John. I'll just make it quick. You know, back in the 60s and the 70s, we used to have a saying, it's a struggle to struggle. And so we're still struggling, folks. Keep the struggle going on. We've made a lot of grounds since Obama. Now we have Kamala Harris. So it's beautiful to see young Black women and young Black girls think and know that they can succeed in this life. So thank y'all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.